All right, let's go to a story I brought you last night about the Albanese government's decision to offer lucrative scholarships to employees of the Palestinian Authority and other Palestinian residents, the West Bank, Gaza and East Jerusalem. The recipients of these scholarships, they'll get return airfares to Australia, an establishment allowance once they're here, help with living expenses, all their university costs covered, as well as Australian health insurance. As I pointed out last night, given about 2/3 of Palestinians support Hamas and approved of those attacks on October 7, there are now serious concerns about security checks that may or may not have been conducted on these students and whether there's any actual benefit to Australia, given you're paying for it. For more, I'm joined now by the President of the Australian Jewish Association, David Adler. Well, David, thank you for your time. I was shocked by this scheme. I know a lot of my viewers made contact with me after I aired the story last night. They were stunned. What's your response to this Palestinian scholarship program?
Well, Peter, it's hard to find a more ridiculous, dangerous, reckless policy in terms of our national interest and security. It seems to be targeted specifically at employees of the Palestinian Authority. And let's not forget that the Palestinian Authority is a dictatorship. Its last election was 2005, so the current president, Mahmoud Abbas, is enjoying the 19th year of his 4-year term. It oppresses minorities, but worse than that, it has a pay-for-slay scheme which pays hundreds of millions of dollars to terrorists and those in jails. So it's extraordinary. And look, let's not underestimate those that want to do us harm. And I'm thinking of the Iranian regime or radical Islamist organisations like Hizb ut-Tahrir and others. They would be laughing at this. If they wanted to plant someone in an Australian university, here's the scheme open for them, and what's more, the Australian taxpayer will pay for it. But at the risk of shocking your viewers even further, if you have a look at the priority subjects to receive these scholarships, number 3 on the list is digital economy and cyber security. Now just think about that for a moment. Someone comes over here to learn what we know about digital economy and cyber security and then goes back potentially to an organisation that is wanting to do Australia harm. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? I mean, the Israel Security Agency recently foiled a planned shooting attack by an alleged terrorist cell at a university made up of Hamas representatives on the student council. This is Birzeit University in the West Bank, so one of the areas where people will be drawn from for these Australian scholarships. The agency also reports it arrested many students from the West Bank universities in recent weeks, all suspected of terror activity. I'm not convinced that anyone coming to Australia from that area, David, is sufficiently screened given the difficulties we have with consular support staff on the ground in the Middle East.
Absolutely right. And don't forget, these people are products of a radicalised education from very early on, where through the UNRWA schools there is the glorification of terrorism, teaching hatred of the West and of Israel and Jews in particular, as if we didn't have enough anti-Israel activism and anti-Semitism on our university campuses. Here is a mechanism to bring in more. And as you've said quite correctly, there have been recent terrorist arrests on university campuses in Judea Samaria, the West Bank, Birzeit University. The student council there, the Students' Union, is in effect controlled by Hamas together with members of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, in other words, 2 prescribed terrorist organisations. The second university in the area, which is the Palestinian Polytech. Similarly, the university representation, the student representation, is controlled by prescribed terrorist organisations. And it's very easy when you're sitting comfortably in Australia to think using our values, but our values don't apply over there. There is a completely different value set, and very hard to screen out those that want to do us harm.
David, I have to underscore the points you're making. When I went to Ramallah, which is obviously the area controlled by the Palestinian Authority, I went to an official meeting, and on the way into the building, there was a monument, probably about 8-9 feet tall, and on it were plaques to all the suicide bombers, lauding them for killing Jews. And of course, we know that their families, as a result of receiving pensions, they were honouring the shaheeds, the suicide bombers. And that's what we're sort of dealing with some of these students. I have to leave it there, but David, I thank you for your comments. I will stay across that issue and find out exactly how much money we're spending as taxpayers.